Great. Well, good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily Harris. I manage the Coalition's Agriculture Work Group. And this panel discussion came out of some ideas that our agriculture work group had, but we wanted to open it up to all of our coalition members so you guys could hear about this great project. What I'll ask is if you can stay on mute if you're not asking a question or speaking, just so we can hear our panelists, that would be great. And again, for those just joining, if you can put your name and organization in the chat box. If you have questions throughout, you can put them in the chat box and we'll do our best to answer those at the end. We also have a survey to evaluate our panel discussion today. So we will be sharing that with you all both at the beginning and the end here. So if you can fill that out afterwards, that would be a great help to the coalition team and the Alliance. So thank you all for joining today. We have a very exciting panel for you today. Very excited that all these folks could join us. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mauricio, who's my co-chair for the Coalition's Agriculture Work Group. And Mauricio, if you would like to introduce yourself and then go ahead and turn it over to our speakers, we can go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mauricio Rosales. I'm the Pennsylvania Agriculture Projects Manager for the Alliance of the Chesapeake Bay. I am based in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and my main job is to help farmers completing their conservation projects, also leading the outreach effort and making sure that our partnerships and farmers are succeeding and that we're able to implement more best management practices in farmland. We have been doing this job the AG program has been part of the Alliance for approximately 4 to 5 years now. We have a number of partnerships on the works right now. Many of them focus on supply chain, and we have been partnering with a number of corporations that are interested in decreasing their impact on the environment, trying to keep the water clean and trying to keep the environment clean as well. And because of that, one of our main projects has been focusing on water quality, and that's the one we're going to be talking about today. That is the Turkey Hill Clean Water Partnership. This is the one of the best programs that we had in the AG team at the Alliance, and this is thank you to our great leadership. Thanks to Jenna Mitchell, Jenna Beckett, she has been leading ever since, and we have been growing exponentially after that. The model has been triplicating, and we are super busy, but we're very grateful to Turkey Hill and to our very close partner, Maryland, Virginia Milk Producers Cooperative Association. So with that, I'm just gonna shut up and I'm gonna introduce the two panelists. As I mentioned, Jenna Mitchell. I'm sorry, I keep saying Jenna Mitchell. I'm so used to that. I'm sorry, Jenna. It's Jenna Beckett. She is the Pennsylvania State Director and Agriculture Program Director for the Alliance of the Chesapeake Bay. And we also have with us Janae Klingler, who is the Manager of Animal Care and Sustainability Program for Maryland, Virginia Milk Producers Cooperative Association. So with that, Jenna, do you want to say hi to the audience?
Hi, everyone. Great to be with you all today. And Mauricio, no worries. I'm keeping Mitchell, so either works. It's Jenna Mitchell Beckett. No big deal.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
No problem. Janae?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you all today and talk about the Turkey Hill Clean Water Partnership. As Mauricio said, I'm the Manager of Animal Care and Sustainability with Maryland Virginia Milk Producers.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. We're very excited to have you here. Thank you for being available and willing to do this. This group has been very interested in learning more about the work that you guys are doing, that we are doing together, and how this model can be implemented in some other watersheds. I mean, as you know, we're focusing mainly in Pennsylvania right now. However, this model could be duplicated in other parts of the watershed. Therefore, understanding this could be helpful for many of the members and hopefully creating new partnerships in the future. So with that, Jenna, would you mind please describing a little bit of what is the Turkey Hill Clean Water Partnership?
Okay.
Absolutely. So we have a wonderful partnership, as Mauricio mentioned, with Maryland Virginia Milk Producers Cooperative Association, which we usually refer to as Maryland Virginia, and Turkey Hill Dairy. And it all got started about 4 years ago. We met the former CEO of Turkey Hill, and specifically in a workshop where we were talking about how poor water quality was in Lancaster County. And he really simply stated that if there was anything that Turkey Hill could get involved in, that he would be interested. And of course, you know, we were super curious and interested to keep up those conversations. And through our different discussions and learning from one another, time was on our side, and Turkey Hill ended up being in the process of rebidding their contract with the co-op that would be supplying milk to Turkey Hill for Turkey Hill ice cream. And John was inspired by the conversations that we had been having with him to put a requirement for the implementation of conservation plans. So both the obtainment and the implementation of the practices written within that plan into the contract, and also included a premium per hundredweight for the farmers taking part in those activities. And we got really lucky in that Maryland, Virginia responded positively to that bid. And at the same time that John was bidding that contract out, the Alliance had the opportunity to apply for a conservation innovation grant from NRCS. And so really things just wonderfully set one another up and came together. And we received our grant, and we all met for the first time in January of 2018 in Turkey Hill's boardroom, and you know, started a conversation about what we could do together and what our priorities are. And it just all we had a lot of shared goals and shared ethics, and it led to the creation of this, what we now call Turkey Hill Clean Water Partnership, where the Alliance works alongside Maryland, Virginia to support, and it's all Pennsylvania farmers. I know the name is a little confusing, but 100% of the farms that supply to Turkey Hill are located in Pennsylvania. So we work alongside Maryland, Virginia to support their member farms that supply to Turkey Hill and getting conservation plans and implementing the practices written into that conservation plan. It's been really amazing, and Maryland, Virginia has just been an incredible partner, and Janae can talk more about the changes that they've made on their team, but a lot of the success has really been thanks to the leadership and dedication from the co-op to shift things and think about, you know, how they're servicing their farmers. So it's been great. And thus far, we've gotten close to $10 million that we've either received in grant funds or leveraged through different programs. And we're not going to stop there. We're hoping to get, you know, millions more. So I'll stop there.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenna. Indeed, Maryland, Virginia's work and support has been outstanding, and without their help, this partnership wouldn't have been as successful as it is. And the next question is for you, Janae, is related to that. Could you tell us what is Maryland, Virginia's role on this, and why do you think it's so important to have dairy co-ops involved in this kind of partnership?
Sure. I think that is something that has made this partnership really unique and very successful. We were really excited to have this offer from Turkey Hill, or this addition to the contract, and it was a first that we know of in a partnership like this, that we connected with a sustainability group in the Alliance, corporate group in Turkey Hill, and then the dairy cooperative with Maryland, Virginia. And we were able to bring to the partnership the access to the producers, because oftentimes, especially any farmer, but in particular dairy farmers, it seems like it can be difficult to get them in alignment with new practices or proposals. And we have an established relationship as their dairy cooperative with the producer. And they see our staff as somebody that's fighting for them, somebody that's on their team. So when we came to them with this partnership, it was a really nice conversation to be able to bring with them, especially one that Turkey Hill, it has invested in the partnership as well, in that premium that Jenna mentioned, and that they were also assisting the Alliance and ourselves in applying for these grant funds. Because oftentimes farmers are approached by requirements and they are required to meet a certain goal by a certain deadline, but there's not assistance to do that. It's just a requirement and they have to put in all of the resources to be able to make that happen. And this was a unique situation for us to present a requirement to them, but to also tell them, you know, we do have funding, we have resources, we have people that are here to help you get this completed. It's not just all on you. So that has been our role, is to connect to the Alliance for their help in finding those resources for us and to the funding to the producers, and then to connect to those producers that have need or wants back to the Alliance so we can help them get the funding that they need.
Indeed. Thank you, Janae. Yeah, it has been a wonderful experience and very exciting to see what's next. So Jenna, in your experience in conservation, we have seen other programs, co-share programs being offered through the state or through federal agencies, and many times they have a struggle to get these programs out in the fields and working for the farmers, especially in the southeast part of Pennsylvania, where we have a very conservative community. What do you see, or why do you think this is different? The Turkey Hill Clean Water Partnership is different from those programs, and why do you think we're having more success?
I think I mean, really to Janae's points that she just made, the fact that Maryland, Virginia has, in some case, I think it's decades-long relationships with these farmers. So we're able to, we have access to, at the moment, 260 farms supplying to Turkey Hill that all trust Janae and her team. And so just from an efficiencies perspective, we don't, traditionally in the Alliance's other projects and programs, we're sort of starting with one farmer, putting all of our effort into them, and then hoping that he then recommends us to his son-in-law or his cousin or his neighbor. But in this case, we have these fantastic existing relationships with Maryland Virginia Co-op, or the relationships that Maryland Virginia Co-op has with their farms. So I think that that's been huge and really allowed us to connect with more farmers at a quicker pace, and dive into action at a quicker pace as well. And then I think additionally, the fact that the private sector's asking for this, and then also providing an additional payment to Maryland Virginia for this work, I just think farmers respond better to the market asking for this versus it being something that the government's just sort of telling them to do. I think that they understand that consumers are asking for increased conservation and sustainability, and that's trickling down to them through, the corporations that are purchasing milk from them, in this case, Turkey Hill. And I think that that's just sort of more palatable to our farmers. I don't know, Janae, if there's anything you'd add there. I'd be curious to your thoughts too.
Yeah, I think, everything you just mentioned, Jenna, but also the fact that we do have, you guys in the Alliance have access to other resources, to those that can help fill out paperwork, those that can kind of have a collective resource in their mind of what funding is available, because I think there's oftentimes farmers are overwhelmed, and there's a lot to look at, a lot to know, a lot to try and figure out and fill out when they decide that they would like to do some of these projects. And I think sometimes they get stuck on that and then end up not moving forward. So I think the ability to have those resources to be able to make that more seamless has also really helped.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, one of the other things we have heard from farmers is that they definitely prefer to use funding that it's coming from a nonprofit or from corporations. They feel more entitled to use that rather than using federal or state dollars. So although many of our grants come from the federal government or from the state, if it seems like when there is a nonprofit or there is also dairy co-op, supporting this work, seems like farmers are more willing to take funding and to be more proactive. Awesome. Janae, you and I have been visiting farms and your team has been visiting farms for a long time. You know what are the needs of those farmers. Can you describe what kind of BMPs are the more popular, the work that you guys are promoting, and what are the needs of your farmers?
Sure. We have been able to assist Maryland, Virginia members with many different practices. I would say one of the biggest and most common ones would be manure storage. Many of our farmers have taken over farming from generations before them, and with the markets the way they are today, their margins are very tight if they're making an income at all. Oftentimes, the milk price is such that their inputs are higher than what they're getting out. So anything they can manage to invest, they do. And oftentimes some of these projects are such a large investment that they cannot afford to do this on their own. And manure storage is definitely one of those. Many of the farms that we've worked with through this partnership went from daily spreading to having 6 months worth of manure storage. And that has really made a huge difference in their sustainability, the water quality around them, as well as just their efficiency and their quality of life. It has allowed them to be able to manage their nutrients in a way that's most beneficial for their feed, for their animals, as well as for the ground. They're able to manage that around weather, around time of year. And before, we've been able to help implement these manure storages on the farms. If the farm was daily spreading, they're spending several hours a day spreading that manure out in the field. So now they have those hours that they can use to care for the animals, care for the facility. They can do other work, spend some time with their families, all of those things. So that's one. We've been able to support several heavy use areas on farms, including calf shelters, heifer shelters, barnyards. We've done some barnyard restoration to be able to control runoff in the barnyard and collect the manure and any rainwater that may have mixed with the manure, and put that into the manure storage so they can use that on their fields at the appropriate time. We've done some field work with cover cropping, manure injection, as well as stream work too, and stream fencing, stream bank restoration, and stream crossings. So we've really been able to help these farms with a very wide range of practices, but all of them have really made the farms more efficient, more sustainable, and help to increase the producer's quality of life.
It's interesting sometimes to go to a farm that it's new in the program and they're still skeptical and they don't want to, they're still very, skeptical, that's the word. And they're not very open, and it's just interesting to see that behavior. And once the project is completed, it's just so rewarding to see their behavior and their mood changes completely because of what you just said, Janet. Like, they are so happy to finally have, manure storage, that they don't have to be working long hours during very rough conditions. That part for me is one of the most rewarding things. I mean, we're definitely helping, keeping the water clean and keeping our environment in better shape. However, that part, helping this community that is in great need, as you said, milk prices are very low. for me, is the most rewarding part. And I think for all of us working on this, it's just very satisfactory. And I love that part of my job. So Janae, you're also working on animal welfare. Maybe just, I'm a bit curious, could you maybe tell us how these BMPs are helping to achieve better animal welfare, better animal health? Since, you know, maybe this audience might be not as familiar with that, but it's something that it's a benefit of implementing this best management practices.
Absolutely. Yeah, so all of these practices that I mentioned that we've been able to support the dairy farmers with, one, manure storage, that kind of on the surface seems like it's something that would be beneficial to water quality locally, as well as the soil. But when they're able to manage the manure better and time it better so that they can apply that manure and the nutrients to the fields, that helps them produce a better quality crop, which in turn also helps them to produce better quality feed for their animals. So they're able to get a more nutrient dense feed and grow a better feed for themselves that could equal less inputs from the farms financially to purchase in feed from outside sources. And also the manure storage helps, because oftentimes if they don't have a storage or they are daily spreading, manure's piled in the corner of the barnyard or somewhere not ideal that animals have access to, so they may be a bit dirtier than what the producer would like and what they should be. And then I mentioned barnyard restoration, as well as heavy use areas like the calf shelter, heifer shelter. And many of these farms have been around for hundreds of years, and people have, as things have worn out, they've made some adjustments, but oftentimes some of these younger animals are under the old bank barn. The ventilation isn't great. The lighting's not great. And the producers are doing the best that they can to keep it bedded, keep it dry, keep it clean. However, with it being a little darker, not great ventilation, that's a big challenge. So oftentimes when we're able to support them with a new heifer, calf, or young stock shelter, these are much more modern facilities. They're much easier to clean. They're easy to keep dry. They're easy to keep ventilated. Most of the times they're very open to help with that. So that really increases the overall animal health and longevity with these projects. And same for the barnyards. Oftentimes when we're going to farms to help with a barnyard restoration, that's very similar. They might be in significant need of some concrete area. So the concrete that might be there might be rough. There may not be concrete. So the animals might be in a little bit more mud, which would be difficult to clean up any manure from that area. And so helping them restore their barnyards really helps with many different things, from cleanliness, from overall health, to reducing foot and leg issues with their dairy herd. And same with the stream banks. I mean, we like to see trees and fence along the stream banks because that means that we're keeping animals out of the water for manure reasons and nutrients out of the water, but it's really great for cow health because water can carry some bacteria that are not good for cow health. And we see that quite often in milk quality tests on farms that cows do have access to water. So it's really nice to be able to help the producers put in those separations. It has many benefits on many different aspects of the farm.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I know, for instance, preventing food issues, food problems in cows doesn't seem to be a big deal, but for those that are familiar with dairy, that could be one of the most challenging health issues in farms, because once a cow starts limping, trust me, that cow, it's definitely a problem, and they don't eat, their behavior changes, and they're not easy to work with. Therefore, preventing those problems, helps the animal welfare, but also at the end of the day, keeping that cow in the herd and producing milk. So that's something that sometimes we don't realize, but those benefits are indeed important as well. So Jenna, so we had this very successful partnership, and the model is duplicating. How will you ensure that the same success is replicating in other partnerships? What would you recommend to have the same success in other partnerships that are happening at the moment?
I think number one is communication. We've got standing weekly and monthly calls with Maryland, Virginia. And I think we've just learned that we've just got to be talking as much as we can about all the different, parts of the process and the direction that we want to go in, and, different opportunities for funding, different challenges we're hitting. And I think, honestly, I feel like having those set calls is one of the biggest reasons for our success, because it's just so wonderful to be able to keep in touch and really, constantly, feel successful as a team for the progress that we're making. I think additionally, I feel like we got so lucky in so many different ways, but we all have a really similar ethic when it comes to supporting our farmers, from Turkey Hill to the Alliance to Maryland, Virginia. Everyone's very understanding of where dairy farmers especially, what the challenges are that they're dealing with right now, and really supportive of, thinking together collectively about how we can, lessen those challenges, or, work together to offer, this requirement. It's a requirement at the end of the day, but to really couch it as an opportunity rather than, a carrot approach rather than the stick approach. I think that has been huge. And so making sure that the partners that you're working with, all have a similar ethic when it comes to supporting farmers and not wanting to point fingers at the farmers, but really, share the load literally across the supply chain, I think has been really pivotal as well. So those are the two things that come to mind for me right now.
Janae, do you have anything to add to that?
I absolutely agree with Jenna. I think the communication is really key. I know we all shoot emails back and forth constantly, just trying to keep things straight. And yeah, just being very open in our group and with our members on how we can help them, and how we can work together to meet our goals.
Indeed, that is definitely something that I believe is key for any partnership overall. But we have been, I think, doing an outstanding job, and probably that's one of the reasons why we are having success. I agree. And then speaking of partners, this question probably is for Jenna, but Jenna might also be able to help here. But why do you think it's important to have corporations supporting this work? In this case, Turkey Hill supporting this work has been pivotal, but why do you think they should support this kind of partnership?
Well, number one, there's just so much work that needs to be done, and we need every individual and every business and everyone just stepping up. So it's just important for these corporations to, do the right thing, just from the perspective of all of the work that needs done. But I think, more, I guess, less altruistically, other than just because it's the right thing to do. I do think that this is something that consumers are excited and, certainly have a growing interest in. So I think that there's lots of opportunity for Turkey Hill to, build all of the work that we've done together as a partnership into who they are as a brand, and hopefully gain, consumer, have more brand loyalty because of the work, and hopefully get more consumers to fall in love with them as a company, because of the great work that we've all been doing together, that really they, they were the first ones to take the leap into, putting this in their contract. So I think that there's really market advantages to, building sustainability into your operations and yourself as a brand.
Awesome. Yes, indeed. I feel many of those corporations are looking at growing their sustainability programs. Many have pledged millions of dollars. And I think there is also this educational part that we as conservation professionals and many of the members of the coalition here have to do is to educate these corporations. Many of them came to us without not knowing much of what is happening here in Pennsylvania, what's happening in the watershed. So this learning curve is something that we are responsible for as professionals. And I think that that's one of the things that we definitely need to make sure that we're communicating with those corporations when they're looking at, implementing and doing projects like this. All right, next question. Why do you think conservation professionals, I already kind of answered this, but why do you think conservation professionals should be supporting this or should be interested in doing something like the Turkey Hill Clean Water Partnership? And this could be an open question for any of you. Maybe you want to start, Janae, and maybe Jenna can complement.
Sure. I guess I'm kind of coming at this as not necessarily the conservation professional, but why I'm really glad to be partnering with you guys. Because when we go out to farms, we've got the connection with the farms and we go out to talk to them, but oftentimes it's not necessarily our background. We don't know what grants are available. We don't know what projects are needed. We don't know the regulations. So I'm really happy to have our partners in the Alliance and then their partners and the conservation community to be able to answer those questions. And like I mentioned earlier, I think many times the farmers that we work with are very overwhelmed when they look into completing some of these conservation projects on their farms. They don't know how to go about starting that process. They don't know how to go about filling out the paperwork. So to be able to have a resource that can help them through that piece of the process, I think has really helped to move this partnership forward.
Definitely agree with Janae, except for the fact that you are a conservation professional. Sustainability is in your title. But the one other thing that I would add is and I said this before, but just the efficiency that comes with these projects. There's just existing relationships that really lead to a quicker pace of impact. But I think also the opportunity for conservation professionals to engage with the private sector and really create lasting change through having an impact on the understanding and operations of these companies that we're working with is something that's probably more unique than, unfortunately, many of our projects are, because a lot of our projects are sort of grant specific or more project based rather than really working with a company, which as long as that company doesn't go out of business or, of course there's chances for the leadership to change, but if we do a good job in really educating and building this work into how the company thinks about themselves and how they produce their products, this is something that they will adopt into who they are in perpetuity. So I think there's just greater opportunity for lasting impact when conservation professionals are open and willing to partner with businesses.
Thank you. Yes, I feel like supporting, farmers. It's a teamwork. We need everybody here, and regardless, and having as many conservation professional or farm professionals, it's important. I have been thinking that we need to get actually the farming community, the whole farming community involved in this. And by that, I mean getting veterinarians, getting nutritionists, getting feed mills, everybody that it's part of the farming, their industry should be also be part of this conservation work. So it's not only conservation professionals, but any professional working on the ag industry should be involved in this. So we have had many successful stories, and we're thriving, and we're very thankful for that. But Jenna, what do you think have been the challenges, and if we have learned any lesson that might be helpful for this group?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think number one, it wasn't so much, I guess it definition wise was a challenge, but I think we really had to put our heads together with Maryland, Virginia to think about, you know, how we get this message across. And like, I remember the very first thing we did when we activated the partnership was train Maryland, Virginia's field staff. And we plan to rely on the field staff to get the message out and, you know, bring farmers to the table to implement work. And then Maryland, Virginia realized, you know what, we might be putting a little bit too much specifically on the field staff. And they were just a tremendous leader in creating the sustainability team that Janae now leads. So I think that was just sort of a natural ebb and flow of just figuring out, you know, what's the best way to get the message out there and sort of coordinate with the Alliance. I think it was just unbelievably helpful and a real game changer that Maryland, Virginia created this sustainability team that now gets to work directly with the Alliance team. I think I'm trying to think about what other challenges. I think something that will continue to be a challenge is just keeping up with demand. You know, we have wait lists for all of, you know, for the Turkey Hill Clean Water Partnership, and then the other customers of Maryland, Virginia that we're interested in supporting. We also have wait lists across the watershed in Virginia and in Maryland. So I think it continues to be a challenge to fundraise for this work and find access to the amount of dollars that farmers need on the ground to do the amount of work that needs to be done on the ground. So those are the two challenges that come to mind for me right now. I'd be curious to your thoughts too, Janae.
I agree. I definitely think having our staff making that transition from the field staff being kind of your touch point and the touch point on the farms to having a staff that is dedicated to sustainability work really was a launching point of the partnership. And I would also absolutely agree that I think keeping this partnership moving forward and continuing to find funding opportunities for our farmers is going to continue to be a challenge that we see. I think in the beginning, we had some maybe communication hurdles that we kind of jumped through, and then in that transition to our team being a little bit more consolidated and committed to the sustainability partnerships really helped to move through those challenges. But I certainly agree with you, Jenna.
Thank you. And lastly, what would be your advice for the coalition members who are interested in cultivating similar partnerships with corporations and cooperatives? Jenna, maybe I should start with you since you started this.
I think the best advice I can give is to just really seek out folks that have similar passions and goals. I think, you know, that was inherent in the former CEO of Turkey Hill that got this all started. And so I think you have to start with what excites all parties, or what, you know, maybe in some cases concerns all parties, to really figure out, you know, what do we all care about together, and and what opportunities do we have to tackle this together. So it really comes from, you know, just different networking and partnership building. I think at the end of the day, I think, you know, we've definitely had huge advantages to the opportunity to partner with Maryland, Virginia, and Turkey Hill. But I think the partnership started, you know, in a similar way to any other partnerships that we've built have begun. So I think just really, you know, being a good listener and really curious and just interested in, you know, what other folks care about and what gets them excited, rather than maybe, you know, seeking a business and wanting to tell that business, you know, what they should be doing. I think it's instead, you know, seeking businesses that have, you know, complementary goals and ethics and passions, is what I would suggest.
I think that's a great suggestion. Janae, do you have anything to add from the perspective, the cooperative perspective, I guess?
I would just echo Jenna's sentiment there that I think it's important to know what each partner's goals are, and then find partners that your goals all align and complement each other, but also find partners that complement you. We found a partner in the Alliance that complemented our strength in that they could bring the sustainability resources to this partnership. And we found a partner in the Turkey Hill where they were able to support the partnership in their marketing and a lot of those types of activities. And then we brought the access to the members and to the farmers to the partnership. So I think it's important to find partners that their strengths each complement each other as well.
And I feel like we have been very lucky to find you too. So I don't know if it was just the perfect combination, but I feel very lucky that we have such a great partner, and obviously everybody in the community. I mean, everybody's supporting. It's not only the Alliance, it's not only Turkey Hill, it's not only Maryland, Virginia. It's a group. We have technical service providers. They're great partners. I think they're one of the most important partners we have. We have also other nonprofit organizations that are helping us, also supporting this work. They're guiding us with their experience, and they're helping us to find resources for farmers and more. And we have the state and federal offices that are also, you know, providing funding, and other organizations and foundations that are looking at our work, and they're very, very supportive. So it's a combination of many things, and I guess everybody's, you know, passionate about it. And I think, you know, finding those partners, people that is, you know, as passionate as you are, is definitely the way to go, and hopefully, you know, achieving something like this. With that, I think those are all the questions that we had prepared for the panel. So now we're gonna open it. Emily, did you see any question on the chat? You can type it on the chat, or I'm not sure if we can unmute people and they can ask.
Hey, Mauricio. Sorry, my computer actually just crashed. So I'm having trouble accessing the chat.
I saw a question in the chat. It's from Gordon Hoover. I just opened it up. Do you want me to, I'll just go ahead and read it if that sounds good. So Gordon Gordon was interested in how this program aligns with National Milk Producers Federation's FIRM program. So Janae, I'm gonna hand that over to you.
Sure. So the National Milk Producers Farm Environmental Stewardship Evaluation is focused on greenhouse gases. It takes into account the inputs from the farm and the output. So it would be crops produced at the farm, what percentage of those crops fed are produced on the farm. It looks at the feed ration, it looks at the beef production, the milk production, and the components, as well as yearly utilities. So it is very greenhouse gas focused, whereas we are more environmental sustainability and water quality focused in this partnership. We have used it to collect some valuable data to be able to report to some of our customer requests from that evaluation. But I do believe that the Environmental Stewardship Committee is looking at adding to that some practice information collection as to what practices are implemented on farms and potentially the number of acres, as well as the plans that are being used on the farm, manure management and conservation plans. But right now it is very heavily greenhouse gas focused.
Thank you, Janae, and thank you, Jenna, for taking a look at the chat. I was also in the middle of some chaos here. It seems like Emily had the same situation. So anyways, is there any other question? You can unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it on the chat. Otherwise, yes, I gotta say, I'm just gonna elaborate a little more on what Janae shared about the National Milk Producer Federation. They're definitely looking at greenhouse gas emissions and how to reduce that. They're piloting some projects in California at this point. And I think they are also looking at piloting some other projects here in the Northeast and the Southeast part of the country too. And they want to focus on not only in water quality, but also in sustainability. That includes obviously greenhouse emissions and carbon sequestration and all that. Solar energy is a big one that we have been talking with them, and Mera Mergine is also supportive. And it's definitely something that we are going to be on the look for, and we're going to be hopefully partnering with them if there is an opportunity. But at this point, as Jenna mentioned, they're really focusing on greenhouse emission, and this is because of corporations. Corporations are very interested in decreasing their environmental impact, and they're looking at carbon sequestration as the solution, and that's why I think the National Milk Producer Federation has looked at that very seriously. Any question from the audience? Please unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Oh, there is one here. So how is the Alliance or Turkey Hill working to encourage others to model on and learn from this partnership? And this webinar is great to start. Thank you, Diane.
I'm happy to take a first stab at that. If that's
sure.
So really, just as many opportunities as we can, just like this one. I don't know, it almost feels like once a week we're talking in something like this, at least recently. But we try to present the model at, any conferences that we can. We have information on our website. We try to get our story out in different publications. We have some videos that we've shared. I think we're just trying to get the word out in all of the normal ways. Yeah, I guess if there's any other suggestions that folks would have for avenues that we might not be capturing, that'd be great. But I think what's really important and what we're still learning is specifically, I think all of us as conservation professionals, it's not going to take us very long to know why this is a good idea. I think a lot of the effort needs to go specifically on building peer pressure within the private sector. And that's something that we're still learning, how to quantify benefits specifically, for businesses' bottom lines is something that we're still seeking and thinking on. So I think, just education generally within the conservation community, but we're trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about how we can, spread the word and really create peer pressure within the business sector.
Thank you, Jenna. We have one more question from Tracy. Is this program also having any effect on preserving family farms, preventing the consolidation of farm ownership? I guess for you, Jenna, maybe you can start answering that one.
I'm going to hand that over to Janae, if that sounds good.
Okay.
We have not, with this partnership, actually gone into like any type of farm preservation officially. However, we have talked to many producers that said that, you know, we need to do something to make our farm more sustainable for the next generation. Very recently, Mauricio and I met with a producer that said, you know, in order for my sons to want to take over the farm, I'm going to have to change what's happening here. We're going to need to add to the facilities. We're going to need to make this more efficient for them. Otherwise, they're going to go find jobs off the farm. And so we've had several stories like that we've been able to help the farm stay in the family and not have them sell their cows, but we've really helped make these small family farms efficient through a lot of these practices that we've been able to support on the farms, which is going to help want the younger generation to take over the farm and help keep those farms in the family and in business in the future.
Awesome. Yes, this is something that we see, and we have those conversations sometimes that older generations have to make a decision about continuing farming and keeping the cows, or just selling the cows and going out of business. And once that happened, then the chances that that land is developed, it's definitely greater. So unfortunately, yes, it's difficult, but by supporting them with, you know, kosher dollars and programs, we're guaranteeing that next generation it's on board. Many of the communities in Lancaster are looking at helping the future generation elders, or the leaders of the Plainshead communities. Many of them are now willing to work with different programs and organizations in order to help the next generation. So we have one more question from Jack. Does the partnership consider Ag BMP implementation beyond producing management plans? Are there any structural BMP component to the partnership, or could there be in the future? And any of you, Jenna, I think you can take that one, but the answer shows yes.
Yeah, the very first step was conservation plans, but as soon as we could, we started implementing. So it's a huge priority to get structural BMPs on the ground. And in fact, I think the number is 66 practices we've implemented on the ground. It's probably a little bit higher than that at this point.
Yeah, that number, needs to be updated, but we're definitely on more than 66, and all of them are structural BMPs. That includes manure storage, heavy use area, roof and covers, vineyard stabilization, waterways, buffers, stream crossings, fencing, you name it. So we have a number of BMPs, and that we have been implementing in at least, I think it's around, I want to say around 30 farmers that we have helped implementing those plans, and a number of others that we have helped only with the plan writing. Awesome. Yeah, no problem. So it seems like we're close to end, and I think we can wrap it up unless there is one more short question, but it seems like we don't. It's almost 12 o'clock. I don't know if Emily is around. Yes, you are. Okay, so you can take over for now. Thank you so much, and we appreciate having us here.
Thank you, Mauricio. And yes, apologies everyone for my technical difficulties. My computer decided to crash right in the middle of the presentation. So that's always what happens when you need things to work. But yes, I would like to thank Mauricio for moderating this panel. Really appreciate all of your support as the Ag Work Group co-chair as well. And thank you to Jenna and Janae for sharing your expertise with us. I think it's a different perspective that a lot of us, in the coalition, in the work group, don't always get to hear directly. So I think it's really valuable. And we're really appreciative that you could share this with our coalition members today. So thank you all so much for joining. I believe that the evaluation survey has been shared in the chat. So if you all could fill that out, that really helps us continue to put on these presentations for you guys and improve them. So if you have any additional questions, I will be sharing the recording and I can share the contact info for all of our presenters for you all to follow up. And you're welcome to email me as well, and I can pass along any additional questions that folks have. But thank you all for joining today. We really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm so glad that we could highlight this really great and successful partnership. And thank you all again to our panelists for sharing with us today.
Thank
Real
you.
quick, I see that it says the survey is requiring permission to open it. I'll tackle that right now and refresh your browser in, I don't know, 3 minutes. And please take the survey. We'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Drew.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everyone again for joining. We'll be sharing that recording shortly.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.